I mean, there is a motivation that's relative to that, but it's sort of, you know, not to put it up front in terms of the undercapitalization of this kind of work, and that, you know, why is there a need for us to do the reframing? Well, why are the arts still the smallest part of the philanthropic pie? Why did a few weeks ago Governor Jerry Brown try to, or attempt, or propose that to cut the California Arts Council budget? You know, it's 2014. You know, what, in a sense, is wrong with this picture? Is there a way to reframe the work and the value of it so that perhaps in the long term, the undercapitalization can turn around, perhaps? And perhaps, you know, that's, it's not to say that we are survivors, right? We have, by hook or crook, gathered in our human resources to do the work. It doesn't mean, though, that we wouldn't necessarily enjoy having more resources to do the work that we would want to do. We wouldn't necessarily want to change the scale at which we're doing it, which is medium to large, or in direct engagement with our communities. We wouldn't want to change that necessarily. It'd be great to have more resources. And that's what I meant in the description, in the definition, about the fact that it's a choice to remain at a certain scale so that you can have that direct engagement. Otherwise, you are cut off from the community in a certain kind of way. And it's not to say that there isn't value in you know,
being cut off from the community. We know there's a lot of value.
It's not necessarily to pit what we're doing against another strategy or way of working or another scale or whatever. It's just different. It is what it is.
Well, I think what you said about, you know, in what you read at the beginning about hospitals versus community clinics, I mean, that says a lot. And I think it's something that also Kevin talks about a lot. Well, he didn't tonight, but it reflects this whole zoning fight about the liquor license for the nonprofit is trying to get. Is that, you know, as nonprofits become bigger and bigger, are they still the responsive organizations they were before, you know, or do they become something else and sort of lose what made them really, you know, vital and inspiring in the first place, you know? And so I think that's really important. And the other thing I would say regarding what you said, you know, it's not like we're going to come up with some, you know, we're going to come up with some notion so people will then say, oh, I see you guys aren't really that small and you're really important and we're going to change everything. It's, you know, it's really, you know, everything is a constant push and shove, right? So, you know, yeah, we're going to make this case tonight, and then we're going to make it again tomorrow, and then we're going to make it again, and we're going to keep making the case, as other people in this room are doing, you know, in a continual way. You know, because other people are going to keep dismissing it, and seeing their value, you know, focusing on something else. So it's not something that, it's wrong to think of it as something that we're going to, you know, reach the final, get to the final victory in this discussion. We just have to keep it going.
I know. Well, I mean, I'm just in talking about preparing for today. One of the things that TIADA is doing to respond to our environment has been to release ourselves from the need of ticket sales. And I think that's like, you know this already, but I mean, that's revolutionary for a theater company to even consider that. We actually have a year this year where we're not selling any tickets, except maybe when we're on tour. And that evolution kind of came to us naturally over the last 6 or 7 months. We've been doing a strategic planning process, but at the same time, the projects we got funded for were projects where we were engaged with the community more. And we were dealing with this issue of like, but we want to involve participants more and participants in the community more. And one of the communities that we started working with last year was restaurant workers. And that naturally came to us because most people know our work around working over the last 10 years. We've been developing Refugee Nation, which is based on stories from Laotian refugees in the US. But that's taken us around the country, and we actually never got a chance to do it in Los Angeles until last year with the help of LATC and Chantal, who's here. And when we did that, we really wanted to take our residency process that we're able to do in other cities back to LA, and as long we're about a 15-year-old company, and as much as we do that residency work outside of the city, we have a really hard time doing it here in LA because we're tiny fish, you know, like we're huge in Anchorage, Alaska. Like they know our name. You know, we're on the front page of the Anchorage News, the Daily News, you know, and in Minnesota, the theater community knows my name. But here in LA, who's Tieta? Who's Leilani? So, and it's also hard to connect with community here because we're all so spread out. And those communities are struggling to organize themselves as well. And so it's not as easy to come in and work for a week and really make an impact. And even though we've been here for 15 years, it's still been a struggle. But when we came and we did our show, Refugee Nation, we were like, okay, well, we were doing it at the Latino Theater Company, so how can we connect with Latino communities to let them know that there's a lot in common with refugee communities in the Southeast Asian community. And in that process, we did workshops with Rock LA and restaurant workers, and it was revolutionary for both organizations because there were so many refugee stories from restaurant workers. We had people in the room who were Salvadorian refugee workers. We had someone who told a story of crossing the border himself from Mexico. So then our relationship with the restaurant worker community grew, and now we're working with restaurant workers. And Corky was our first director, and Kimiko was in the ensemble last year when we tried to do the same process, but we felt that the biggest challenge was we couldn't get restaurant workers to commit to a 10-week process. And then our funder was in Santa Monica, so we had to do the show in Santa Monica. So getting to Santa Monica, and then our hours as theater artists are the same hours as restaurant workers. Nights and weekends is when restaurant workers have to work. So we actually had an ensemble member who quit his job to be in the show. And on the one hand, we were like, oh no, don't quit your job. But on the other hand, he's like, no, this was a process I had to go through, and being in the show gave me the power to say, I'm an artist, I have other things to do. I don't need this job. He was in a bad working situation. But in this year, doing the project, we're like, we don't want our ensemble members to all have to quit their job and to do our show. So how do we then start releasing ourselves from our aesthetic need to have lots of rehearsals? And so I'm challenging our artists this year to have one workshop and one rehearsal. And any preparation that you have to do, like people can commit to like coming to more rehearsals, maybe 4 times if they want to. But there's levels that the restaurant workers can participate in, whether they show up the day of the show and maybe we find a way to have them be audience participants, whether they come to the workshop in the show, like we're experimenting it, and it makes us really nervous, but at the same time it's really exciting.